this is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Waters.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
Fishies in a row. They're here to make a point and to do Eddie proud. They fan out in the background as they come down to turn 1 for the first time. It all looks pretty good, 2 by 2. We'll stop the camera here. Oh, Eddie would be proud, mate. That was awesome run around turn 1. But, oi! Contact with the fishies.
He's made it through. It doesn't look like Angus has made it, but Thomas Freeman's made it through, and Angus is going to suffer the crowd coming through there to be able to turn his car around. Woo.
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannons insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride, whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride.
ride with Shannons.
Call 134646 for a quote.
And they are off. It was a good start from Dylan to Bono. I think Phil Vella got a great start there in the background as well. You can see already cars going 5, 6 wide as they're trying to find any semblance of space. They come into T1. So far we've got 2, 3 wide as they snake down. There's Michael Conchar that's got around Dylan de Bono. A couple of cars going wide there. Was that a bit of contact in the back? Scott Pocock caught up in that, I think, there, buddy. But it's Michael Cullajar's got past, so Dylan...
light is coming out and we're about to get going, and we have gone green lights and a very slow start for the 86s, but they are moving out there on the grid. It would be very interesting to see exactly which driver can capitalise on this first lap. Just go through the grid. Look like Jamie Christensen had a really awesome start to get ahead of Dylan de Bono, and Doug Gowage also jumped his teammate as well, so unfortunately Dylan stalled the car a little bit more than what he preferred. But
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
Still great classes of car, and if you are able to, if you're coming up the ranks on iRacing through the licenses, it's a fantastic sort of laneway into prototype driving, going from that GT3 up through the prototype classes. As the safety car pulls in, we get ready to go green as we come up towards the line. Edwards, Hasler, who's going to get the jump down to turn 1, or will any of the fishies, any of the piranhas in behind them, assault them down towards
green and they're off.
First lap? Let's go here.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons.
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover,
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hills Sam Noble wants to step on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because, tell you what, Bruce Tanak and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away across. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he implemented it, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's see if we get a good run. Dodds just absolute thinker, but it is a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you are watching from. You are here on Sim Racing World TV for round number 4 of the Warren & Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series here from the California Love concrete jungle of Long Beach. It's going to be an absolute hectic night of racing, ladies and gentlemen. After a massive round last week at Le Mans with Simon Mazzomo taking out victory for the GTPs, we'll see tonight if he can back it up with the confrontation, we'll say, or the challenge of Brandon Groch and Scott Hasler being back here in the sim. I'm joined tonight here by Ryan Price in the commentary booth. Of course, you know, there was big cheers for Stephanie last week. She will be returning last week. Unfortunately, though, she'll be returning next week, sorry. Unfortunately, she was not available here tonight, so Ryan has stepped into the booth. Ryan, great to have you here, mate. Now, I know you don't know a hell of a lot about these cars, but what more or better way could you learn about them by coming to arguably the most dangerous track you could put these guys around?
Good evening, Hamish, and good evening, watchers and viewers tonight. Yeah, absolutely. You've really put me in the deep end. It's going to be a lot to learn, not only for myself, but also to learn how wild and chaotic tonight, I believe, will be. Going back through the first 3 rounds, I've noticed there's been some serious racing going on, and I think tonight will be no different.
Yeah, I think you know, this series, as much as any of the others that Sim Racing World offer, it offers up some absolutely fantastic racing about it. No matter where you are in the field, you're almost guaranteed to have a good battle on track. Now tonight we have actually got some good numbers out there as well. I was worried coming to Long Beach. It's not always a popular track for this kind of racing, but we have at least got 12 GTP cars out there. And it looks like we've got about the same for the GTDs, with a couple of, with I think one GTP at a time. So we're pretty even between the classes, and they're going to offer us up some good racing here tonight, I think, and we could be up for some good battles as well. So obviously, Pricey, your history here mainly is in the 8.6s. I haven't seen the broadcast from last night, but I know it was a little bit hectic. Do you think we're going to be able to match it tonight with these types of cars around this sort of a circuit?
Look, I've got no doubt tonight will be going off like fireworks. It's a tight little course. It's got some corners that are very unforgiving. It reminds me of my hometown a little bit, actually. I live on the Gold Coast here up in Queensland, so it's got a bit of a surface paradise feel to it. It's a bit of a party town. It looks like there's a lot going on off the track, so let's hopefully see. Obviously, there'll be quite a lot of action on the track as well, no doubt.
Yeah, I think, you know, it is a pinnacle of street circuit racing in the US is Long Beach, and yeah, I think I totally agree with you on the comparison between this and Surfers, just based on the characteristics of this track and of Surfers Paradise. They're in a very similar type of area for both of their countries, and I think, you know, this track offers just as much racing, just as much good racing as what Surfers Paradise does as well. But you know, some of the areas we're going to have to focus on here tonight, Pricey, because I'm not 100% sure on your knowledge of this track, but I am a know it like the back of my hand type of person when it comes to Long Beach. It's one of my favorite circuits on iRacing, not even just on iRacing, in the world. There are so many spots around this track, which you know, normally I say, oh, this corner's a danger zone, that one's a danger zone, this part's a danger zone. Literally, ladies and gentlemen, look at the track map and just paste a sticker over it that says danger zone, because this entire circuit is a danger zone. You can have something happen just about anywhere around here, Pricey. Turn 1, super tight hairpin. It's almost a 90-degree left-hand turn coming around the first corner. The super tight, we'll call it roundabout at the fountain section at 2 and 3. Incredibly difficult as well. Then you got 4, 5, even up to 6. Just so many tight, twisting little sections of circuit here, all around the streets of Long Beach. It's going to be absolutely chaotic. And, you know, I normally ask Cowie on a Wednesday night, how many safety cars do we think we're going to get? I don't even think we could answer that. Could be pricey because it's like we're going to get one, but how many more than that are we going to get realistically out of this?
I play along with you right at home every night. You and Cowie ask that question. So I think I've got a pretty good crack at it. It's a bit like a 70-year-old lady playing bingo, to be honest. You sort of everyone's in with a chance to get it right. But look, if I'm going to get the dart out and throw one at the dartboard, I'm probably going to suggest we'll see 3 safety cars tonight.
I think that's a very fair assumption. 45 minutes. You know, that's enough time, I'd say, to get 3. I'm doubtful on 4. Just because I know that race control don't like to put them out there all too often. But again, there's an unknown about this place. I mean, the track can jam up at any point out there, and we can get so many different challenges along the way. So I think I'm going to... it might be a bit of a cop-out. I'm going to agree with you. I think 3 is pretty much the dead zone of what we can see tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if we only saw 2.
Come on, mate. Don't sit on the fence.
All
You
right,
want to go
all right.
2 or 4?
All right, I think we're going to get 2. I don't think we're going to go as bad as 4, but I think we're definitely going to get at least 2. So I'm happy to go with 2 if you want a point of difference, but in my heart, I believe we may see 3. But it's all going to come down to the drivers, and it's all going to come down to how well they want to, or how much they want to push themselves, how much they want to push their cars, but also how willing they are to actually stay clean around here. That is the name of the game of this track. We speak about in this type of racing, consistency is key. Well, tonight, consistency but cleanliness is key. You cannot afford a mistake around here, as it could, as Pricey said, lead to some absolutely magnificent fireworks on our end, but not for the drivers, because they could end up in a wall or blocking a circuit. So it's going to be on for a spicy night. And I think we're going to be on for a good one.
Looks like it'll be on for young and old. We've got Ty Delaney, who's I think no older than about 14, taking on the Grandpa Gowans, who, given his nickname's Grandpa, you'd assume could be 4 generations of age groups here that are on the grid tonight.
Yeah, I'd say, we are literally on a spectrum of young to old, and it's all going to come down to, you know, it could come down to the mixture of experience, but also the mixture of maybe not pig-headedness, we'll say cojones, to really just push the car up the inside somewhere. You can get moves done around here, but you've got to be 100% committed. You know, the old adage saying, if you're going to go for a move, you want to be 100% committed, otherwise it's going to just end in tears. So these guys are going to go for it tonight, Pricey. They better be committed to it, otherwise it's going to end poorly for everyone.
If my money's on a winner tonight, I'm going to say it's going to be sub 40 years old. How's that sound?
The only way we'll be able to confirm that is when they get in the booth and we ask them, when's your birthday? Show us your ID.
I just think this is the kind of course that the older drivers will know, they'll remember. They've probably got the history of racing a really hard, unforgiving track like this. The younger drivers, they're new to the seat. They've probably not been around for a long period of time. They'll be going all guns blazing like a bull at a gate, trying to get around this course as quick as possible. So, to be honest, I think it'll be on. We've got Josh Horton, who's just joined tonight. So he's a spring chicken himself. So he's set the good times in practice. I think it'll be definitely some, I think it'll be great racing.
Got a couple of comments in the chat as well. Mark Cochran giving you a good old shout out of your price and saying you've got this. And then our sister SRWtv channel, the private SRWtv channel, saying welcome to Pricey. Have some fun, mate. So it's going to be a good night, Pricey. I think we've given you a fantastic race to call, because we're going to see a bit of everything tonight. We're going to see a bit of strategy, we're going to see some carnage, and we're going to see some great racing as well. So you've gotten the perfect round to have your first, commentating job on, I would say.
So before we get into seeing how the qualifying board looks like, what do you think the strategy is tonight for the drivers, Hamish?
I think if we cop a safety car, any point, you're going to see majority of them come in just to splash. It's likely going to be a one-stop, just like last week out at Lamore. But it really depends on that fuel level. You know, that starting fuel level is really going to be the strategy maker here tonight. There'll be no tyres getting taken at this track, I can almost guarantee you, because it's only a 45-minute race. the GTPs can make a 45-minute stint. That's how long their stints normally are on a full tank, and the GTDs can make an hour. So, 45 minutes shouldn't be taking tyres, should only be fuel. What I think the strategy is going to come down to is, if we get an early safety car, do you come in or do you not come in? If you don't come in, you're banking on there being one around the point in time when you want to come into the pits. So we could see some gambles of people coming in early, saving the fuel, banking on a couple of safety cars to save that fuel to get to the end. Or we could see some people just push out a little bit and hope that there's going to be one around the midpoint of the race. So I think it's really going to be a 50-50 out there of what we could see from these drivers. Horton is now back in the pits. What a debut last week, though, from Lewis Greathead. 098 car for the Vermilion Motorsports. Managed to get the car in P2. Of course, gave the win to his teammate Ben Faulkner, who's currently in the championship battle. And they've now brought in their teammate Josh Houghton as well, just to help them out. So we're going to see some teamwork, I think, here tonight, Pricey, between those boys.
Yeah, what do you think the teams are going to sort of how they'll play out? Because clearly, though it's an individual sport, it really does rely on having some extra assistance where possible.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to. I think it's really going to come down to this battle between Faulkner and Dyson this season is really what's becoming the championship battle at this point. Greathead's got the speed to be up there with Faulkner, which means he's got the pace to be up there with Dyson. Houghton's not too far off Dyson as well. So we could see a bit of a 1-on-3 situation here of where Vermilion's brought in a couple of extra drivers, help keep the pressure on the DPR car out of Andrew Dyson. So I think what we're going to see is if Faulkner gets ahead of Dyson and Dyson falls in behind those two Vermilion cars, they're going to be blocking him like it's nobody's business. It's already hard enough to pass around here. If they can get ahead of him, I think it's Faulkner's to win, because it's going to be so hard for Dyson to not only get past both Greathead and Houghton, but then he's also going to try and get past Faulkner at some point as well. So that's where it's really going to become make or break. Of course, Barber and Hodgkinson, they're teammates out there together, so they can work together as well. So I think what's going to be key here, Pricey, is qualifying, if you can get the car on the front row of the grid, because it means that if there is any carnage in behind, you're able to break away from it a little bit, and you've got a bit of on-track advantage going back to that difficulty to get a pass done around here. So Dyson right now, he sits in the number one spot on the tower, and he sits in the prime position here to have a good run in this race. Current lap time being if I scroll across here, a 1:18.84. So he's the first driver to get into the 18s here tonight.
Is Dyson the top of the leaderboard, Hamish?
So currently he's the top of the qualifying leaderboard, of course. So if we look at the season standings.
Yeah, season standings.
So our season standings have not been updated from last week just yet, because we were waiting on some protests. So leading into last week,
yes,
it was Faulkner who was on top. Now Dyson, I don't think Dyson
raced last week.
Yeah. So Faulkner's currently on top of the timing test. That would have been Dyson's drop round last week.
Gotcha.
So he's he's not out of it, obviously, because he's had a drop round. So he's still within a chance.
He is, but he doesn't have many other rounds to give up, right? So from here on in, he needs to make every round count.
Well, I think
given he missed last week, that'll classify as his drop round.
Well, that's it, mate. And I think, this week is going to be make or break for him. If he can do well here tonight, he takes the pressure off himself a little bit, because this is a track that can take anyone out. Faulkner has now gone up to the top of the timing tower, 1:18.453. So what's make or break about this is if Faulkner has a poor race tonight and Dyson does well, that keeps Dyson in the hunt, obviously, but it means that this is going to be Faulkner's drop round.
Yeah.
But, Dyson cannot afford to have a poor round tonight, because he cannot afford to drop points to Faulkner. So
that's right. Every point counts from here on in.
Exactly. So because he's now on the point of, I need to do well in every single race that I compete in now, it's game on for him, and it's pressure on as well. So we'll see how well he can gauge that pressure and how well he can, apply himself and withstand that pressure going forward. But that's really where it's going to come from tonight, is how well he can last out here at Long Beach, and if he can survive. He may be able to survive against the GTDs, but it's the prototypes coming through as well that we can see some
very interesting. It'll be almost like World War III out there tonight, to be honest. Yeah, there'll be some really hairy moments, and if I close my eyes and if you don't hear from me, it's because I've ducked my head thinking there's some nuclear bombs being dropped from the roof top.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hand in
got,
front of the eyes moment, isn't it, the red?
We've got Benny Faulkner and obviously Dyson that we've spoken about. How do you see the rest of the field shaping up for the GTDs?
Well, one thing I've just noticed is Ryan Jones is actually also in a DPR car. So that Dyson at least actually has got some support out there from one of his teammates. So Jones will be out there to help support him. Obviously, you know, Barber, he's previously been the talk of the town for GT racing in SRW. Did incredibly well when we had the GT Championship and did fairly well last season in IMSA as well. But since that sort of top 5 or top 4 cars have come in, as he has just outlapped Houghton on that last attempt, he now kind of sees himself kind of on the back foot a little bit. Now, that might come down to the fact that he may not be able to practice as much as what he used to, being that he is a race controller here in SRW. Or it could just come down to the fact that those blokes have just got that little bit more pace than him out there on track. But one thing you can say about Barber is he is incredibly clean, incredibly consistent, out on track as well. So it'll be really interesting to see.
Going back through, very valid point you make there, Hamish. Going back through Barber's incident points he's collected over the first 3 rounds, I dare say he would be one of the drivers who would sit with the lowest tally of incident points for the last 3 rounds. So yeah, great of you to notice, mate, that obviously Barber does drive clean, he drives fair, he's one of them drivers that just puts himself in the right position and, you know, hopes that everyone else is going to play the same game. But as we saw last night, and for anyone that watched the 86s, it can throw up a lot of different mysteries, and obviously I feel tonight will be no different. So hopefully Barber can stay out of trouble. He can get some nice clean racing, and he does what he does best, which is drive clean and fair.
Well, you'd hope that one of the 2 heads of race control would be one to race clean and fair, wouldn't you, Pricey? I mean, it'd look pretty bad to have this bloke in the race steward's room if he couldn't, you know, talk the talk and walk the walk. So, you know, he leads by example, I guess you could say, and he proves that in his skill on track, especially in these types of cars. So it's really good to see, and he's out there, you know, having fun week in and week out, and this is kind of his break from having to race control for the series, but whilst also still supporting the series by actually racing in it as well. But you know, P5, especially around here, there's nothing to sniff at. You know, it's still incredibly difficult in amongst this field as well. You know, all of the GTD cars are either A or B class, and there's only 3 B class cars out. There'll be 3 B class drivers out there, so it's incredibly competitive, and all of them are within barely anything of each other in terms of lap time. You know, the only one who's a little bit off the pace is Mark Cochran back in the Apex Esports car, but that just might come down to the fact that he's not very comfortable around this track. So,
and Mark's one of the very few drivers, and when I say few, there's half a dozen or so which compete in multiple 3 and 4 different series or leagues each night with SRW. So you can only learn so much. You can only put in so much time and practice to get a feel for each of the cars and each of the tracks to then race what is almost what it feels like every night for these guys. So yeah, fair play for him to you know, sort of put his name down and throw his hat in the ring for another crack. And Friday nights are sometimes party nights for some, but obviously Mark, he does the hard yards, he gets his hands dirty, and he competes in multiple leagues with us at SRW. So yeah, obviously I'm sure as the night goes on, we'll see them lap times decrease, and seeing Mark take his win for GR86s last night hopefully takes a bit of confidence into tonight's round.
Yeah, and I think, you know, going off the back of kind of what you just said about focusing on a car type, I can guarantee you the top 6 cars only drive GTDs, I would say, in SRW. I don't recall seeing any of their names in any of the other series that I broadcast. Of course, I don't broadcast the 86s or the Formula Vs. But I know that out of the 4 that I do, I believe only those top 6 only race in this class. So, you know, they're able to focus a bit more on it. And I know that Faulkner and Dyson especially are very, very quick in a GT car, and they do compete at quite a high level.
Which obviously that practice all comes down to just getting some seats, or getting some, what do they call it, seat time or bum time. getting your bum on your seat, just going down, ripping as many laps as possible, get a feel for the car. And as we we're just looking at before, Greggy Barber from the cockpit cam, mate, this track it's honestly like going down an Audi aisle on the weekly special day. Have you ever had that? Have you ever been to Audi, Hamish?
Oh, mate, I am an avid Audi shopper. I've been shopping at Audi since it opened almost 20 years ago in Australia. In fact, I'm such an avid Audi shopper. I've been to Audi in its home country in Germany as well, and it's just as hectic there. Bit of Audi history for you here just off the bat. Audi actually started by two brothers, and then it separated because they had an argument. So now in one half of Germany, there's one set of Audi stores, and in the other half of Germany, there's another set of Audi stores. Now, do you know, Pricey, why they had the disagreement and what the difference is between those two stores?
Well, I know there's another big chain in Germany called Lido. Is it Lido or something?
Yes, and I've also been there as well, but... Okay. The difference between them is one brother wanted to sell cigarettes at the store, the other one didn't. So now there's one set that do and one set that don't, and the one that went worldwide is the one that doesn't. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. Well, they are selling alcohol now at my local one, which they had never had previously. But, mate, if you were there on a Tuesday morning when that weekly special catalogue comes out, mate, it is shoulder to shoulder. Everyone's got their arms and wings out. So, yeah, look, I think we'll see some of that happening tonight, mate. I think it'll be on. There'll be a bit of hustle and bustle. We'll see it all going on. But, yeah, this track is tight. Just looking at Greggy doing a few laps just then. Look, take my hats off to the drivers for putting on a show, hopefully, for us tonight and giving us some good stuff to watch.
Oh, hopefully, mate. So the GTD's qualifying now ends at the halfway point of this session. Ben Faulkner manages to put his Porsche on pole position with a time of 1:18.453. Dyson wasn't too far off the time at 18.572, and then it's Dyson's teammate Ryan Jones in P3 with an 18.957. So that's the top three for the GTDs. The GTPs now get 15 minutes to set a lap time, as we're up here in the old blimp above the track. Just watching them all run their way around, and it gives you an idea just actually how tight these, as you mentioned, Pricey, how tight the streaks of Long Beach actually are, and as they disappear in behind the shopping centre. And just how close they can get to the wall as Hasler just brushes it off the exit there.
I reckon these at night at Long Beach, with the sparks flying, the curbs being brushed, it would be an awesome event. Do they have lights on the track, Hamish?
So there's no lights at it. So how IMSA normally run it in real life is it is a right. So I'll give you a good rundown here. So IMSA normally runs with 3 different classes, at least as of last year. It may have changed this year. No, did it change this year? I can't remember. But last year they ran with GTP, LMP2, and then GTD cars. Now, whenever they come to Long Beach, they take away the middle class of LMP2 and just run GTDs and GTPs like we do here in SRW. They run a 2.4-hour race around this track because I don't think you could go pretty much any longer around here, I'm going to be honest.
It's a handful.
Oh, it is. It is. And they run it in the middle of the day, sort of like towards the evening. So they don't normally get night racing around here. But, I mean, I suppose they could use street lights if they had to. But, yeah, it's normally during the day.
I just could imagine with the scenery in the background, the city lights going off, these GTPs flying around the track, bit of sparks as they hit themselves off the curbs or scraping the walls. I think it'd be some great viewing.
So Delaney's now gone top of the timing tower off the back of the first lap, but Hasler here is on an absolutely mega run. His teammate is also on a mega run just up ahead. So Hasler will cross the line. He'll go P3 here, 1:11.425. Grotchi's teammate, his time did not count, so this will be on for him here.
I was going to say, he probably would have nearly headed up the...
that's his teammate in the wall! And that's what we got to be careful of tonight, is just you come around a blind corner and there's a car across the track, you got nowhere to go.
Oh, jeez. There's not much room for error tonight, Hamish. I reckon the only safe place on this course is probably sitting in pit lane, to be honest with you.
Mate, I would even say the only safe place is actually probably in the broadcast booth because you can still see some, still see a bit of fisticuffs happen in this ultra long pit lane, the longest pit lane that we have here on the calendar. And it feels like an absolute eternity when you come down. Mazomo now, winner out last time out at Le Mans. He goes for another run here as some of the cars come out of pit lane. That's another thing that's going to be on the onus of the drivers here tonight, is the drivers coming out of pit lane. Well, it's on the onus of the driver coming down the straight at race pace to not cross that pit lane exit line. They must stick to, you know, the on-track area if there's cars coming out of pits. So normally the line you would run is you'd come over to the right, Pricey, and then cut into the left for the corner. You can't do it when there's cars coming out of pits.
Which is really going to hamper some of the, if there's a couple of battles going on and people are exiting the pits, it's really going to hamper that lead driver on how he's going to attack that corner, because it brings the drivers behind into the race, right?
Well, that's it. And it might even be as well that someone coming out of the pits could be involved in that battle too, you know, and that might give them somewhat of an advantage, but they can't just come out of pits, go to the end of the lane and then turn straight across into turn one. They also have to leave some room for the drivers coming down the straight as well. So it's really it could lead to an absolute, you know, car wreck, but it could also lead to some very tense and exciting moments for us here tonight.
If I was the head chief of a simulator virtual racing team, I probably would have some strategy around that, to be honest. If we needed to, what do they call it, tank a teammate No, none of that would go on, would it, Hamish? It all seems, and certainly all the leagues and the races I've been involved in, everyone seems pretty fair and competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I know personally as a team owner myself, I've never asked one of my drivers to kind of balk themselves so they're a bit further down the order. Maybe if they've naturally gotten there by having an incident or something like that, then I might say, oh, can you try and hold someone up who's coming up on blue flags? But obviously you can't do that forever. But no, I think, I mean, it more or less comes down, I think 90% of teams in iRacing would say as well that they're happy just to have the actual on-track battles happen themselves. Now, if you've got a teammate involved in that battle with you, then fair game, you know. You're battling with them and with someone else. You guys are going to work together as a team, which we might see tonight with the likes of Jones and Dyson versus Faulkner, Greathead and Houghton out there. So we could be on for some good battles, some good inter-team battles as well.
So you sort of make mention that there's like a gentleman's code, and I've only been iRacing or in the simulator for less than 12 months. What is the gentleman's code for iRacing? Now, I haven't signed up to one. I feel like I probably know what it is and have hopefully participated as per what the code might look like. But what would the gentleman's code be in these types of races? Do you give the faster driver the sort of leeway? Do you know the guy that's really challenging for the championship? Do you let him sort of take the corner, or is it just all in, everyone's out there battling no matter where you're positioned, no matter how fast or slow you are, and yeah, obviously it's just a complete battle no matter, you know, sort of what league, what sort of level they're at?
I think it more or less comes down to the situation that you're in, right? So you might be in the final round of a championship, one of your teammates might be in the fight for that championship, and you're a bit further down the order, and you've got their main competitor behind you. Now, I say this to you, Pricey, if you're in that situation, are you letting that person pass, or are you going to defend for your absolute life to hold them up, to help your teammate out?
Well, you would think it'd be the latter, although I'm not part of a team, mate. I'm just defending for my own personal, you know, sort of gain and credibility. But yeah, look, I get the whole team thing, and after racing in the leagues over the past sort of 6 to 9 months, I can see how important it would be to be part of a team. You get information around tracks and sort of, you know, helping with some brake markers. They certainly jump on board and provide you with some feedback on that. But the big thing I've noticed is some of the car setups, which I've never raced a GDP or a GTD. Are the car setups critically important, Hamish?
It can come down to the track sometimes, but also the driver. But I would say it's more so in terms of the GT cars. Setup is absolutely essential for certain tracks. Obviously, we've got the iRacing official Bathurst 12-hour this weekend. Setup will be crucial because that is already a difficult track in itself. The prototypes, setups, obviously you want to be comfortable in the car, but certain, each car has its own little bonuses and its own little negatives, right? So one of the bonuses we can speak about is the Cadillac is relatively known as the fastest car in a straight line for the prototypes, right? It has the best straight line speed. But what it lacks is some sort, sometimes some in the corners and in tight areas of the track. So tonight, for example, the Cadillac may not actually be the strongest car choice out there. When we look at the opposite end of the pool, the Porsche isn't necessarily the fastest in a straight line, but it makes up for that by being really, really strong in the corners. So we saw this come into effect at the Daytona 24-hour, even in real life, but also in the iRacing official last month. This was one of the strongest cars to drive because it was so strong on the infield, and they could make up for it on the back straight. So, the BMW, that's fairly good around corners as well. The Acura is kind of a really balanced car, where it's like the middle ground a little bit. So there are certain tracks that suit the cars a bit better than each one. But it also comes down to driver preference as well. If we're going to talk about GT cars pricey, some drivers prefer front-engine cars, some drivers prefer mid to rear-engine cars. So that can also have a part to play too, about what you're comfortable with. Or even if you're transitioning into these cars, your car choice might be based on what car you actually have experience in. So if you have experience in a supercar, for example, if you're coming into GTs, you're actually probably going to be a little bit more comfortable transitioning into a front-engine car than a rear-engine car, because it's going to act... Oh, that's a big hit there for Glasspool.
And so, Hamish, are the drivers allowed to choose different cars each week, or are they select one car from round one and that's what they've got to race through the whole series?
So last season they were allowed to change every single round, and then that was changed this season to you get one car change per season, and I believe there is no change between classes. So we cannot see anyone go from GTD up to the prototype class. So it pretty much means you have to be very strategic if you're actually going to change your car choice of when you make it, because it means that every race after that point you are stuck with that car. So we have Mez just coming up here to the cameraman, giving us a little wave on his way past. So yeah, it's all going to come down to a bit of strategy. Only a couple minutes left though in the qualifying session. Currently as we stand, Troy Maguire is P1 with a 1 minute 10.39. Young gun Ty Delaney in P2 at the moment with a 1:10.47. And then James Glasspool currently makes up the top three with a 10.51. So it's really going to be strategic about when the drivers actually want to change cars, and if they change cars at all as well. So it's going to be up to them. We have got Shibby in the chat as well saying let's go Leaky, saying hey to you Pricey, and then saying let's go Hamish, great to have you here. Sam Catacasino's in there as well saying g'day chat and hey guys, great to have you here. And then you had to mention you're not in a team yet, Pricey, because now Steve's going to start blowing up your DMs trying to get you to join his team. Don't do it. Don't join his team.
Oh, that's hilarious. It's not the first time he's approached me on that one. But nah, g'day fans, g'day Sam, g'day Shibby, g'day Mark. Thanks for joining in, fellas. I'm here all week, so yeah, give the Schnitzel a try. I'll be signing autographs after the show's finished tonight. So.
Yeah.
No, but just
tip your
one...
waitresses as well, eh, Pricey?
That's it. Yeah, be good to your mum. Look, just a quick comment there on the GTP cars. There's top three positions are all separated by different manufacturers. Is that normal?
It can be, yeah, and that can also come down to, again, what car you're comfortable in. Now, this track has got a couple of different characteristics about it. You might look at it and say, hey, the Porsche should be strong here because it's good in the corners. But it has quite a long main straight, and there are some breaks in between those corners. So again, it can kind of, in fact, the top four are all four different manufacturers now that Brandon Gosh is on P2. So
that's amazing.
First through fourth is every single different manufacturer in the prototype. So it can come down to what you're comfortable with, come down to your car setup, but it can also come down to which one may be slightly stronger around here as well. So couple of different reasonings as to why that might happen. We haven't really seen that happen at all this season, but it is good to see now. Yeah,
look, as we head into the last 30 seconds, Hamish, It looks like it's Troy Maguire in first. We've got Brendan Gwalch in second. Ty Delaney heading up what will be the first position of the second row, and then we'll have James Glasspool, who'll round out that top four, or the fourth position / second position on the second row. So looking at the lap times though, mate, you could throw a blanket over the first to sixth, really. There's not a lot in it. They've all pretty much been fighting around the 110.3 to 110.6.
I mean,
even now,
the top 10
Diamond's
car, or the top 3 cars price here, separated by 800ths of a second.
Jeez, and is Jamie and Scott the same time? Oh, geez, 0.01.
They are.
Wow.
They're classic. They're 1/1000th of a second separated, but it's
Do clocks even count that quick? Oh, I don't know how they could have split that one.
I got no idea, but that is the end of our qualifying session tonight, Pricey. No one is left out on track, so these guys must just be eager to get out there and have a crack at this track, of course. Everyone bar one car set a lap time there in qualifying. Patrick Frame was the only one to not set a lap time here tonight in his Acura GTP car. Every single GTD set one. 12 out of 13 GTP cars did. Of course, our race controller safety car not able to set lap times in qualifying because they are not racing. But I think that safety car will get some on-track action here tonight, don't you worry. Question I will ask you, though, Pricey, do you think the safety car is actually going to finish ahead of anyone in this field?
Oh, that is a very good question. I don't know if Patrick's going to complete the race, so no, I'll say I don't think it will.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait for the cars to grid up and for the finalisation of qualifying. So, obviously, we're through with your first sort of session of the night here, Pricey. What's kind of your inklings coming into this race? Do you think we're going to get a bit of lap one shenanigans happen, which we almost always do around here, or do you reckon there might be a bit of sensible driving from these cars, maybe for at least 1 or 2 laps?
Yeah, so park that thought for 2 seconds. I just heard come through via the comms that car 122 has a pit lane start. So didn't catch exactly what that was for, but
I think that was when we saw Glasspool end up in the wall at turn 3. I think that was Simpson who actually clipped. He impeded his lap time, and that's what ended up having him in the wall there.
Okay, so all your viewers out there, car 122 will be starting from the pit lane.
So that is
qualify nights.
So we'll bring up our starting grid for tonight's race. Of course, Troy Maguire will start on pole position with a lap time of 1 minute 10.394 for Fishy Motorsports. Brandon Grotch will then start at a P2 for Frog Leap Juice Racing. He'll then start ahead. Ty Delaney at a P3 here tonight, who will head up the start of the second row with James Glasspool at a P4. Jamie Davis will then start at a P5 here tonight ahead of Scotty Hasler at a P6, with Simon Mazzomo starting at a P7 here tonight. Dougie Gowans on his return to the series here tonight. He'll start at a P8 with Adam Simpson, who qualified P9, but he will now start from the lane. So that now promotes Josh King into P9 for this start, although he will line up in the 10th grid slot. Shane Newlands will then start in behind, as well as Brad Anderson. And then it'll be obviously Simpson out of the lane with Frame being put into P13 grid spot, but that's if he actually makes the grid. Ben Faulkner will then start at a P14 for Vermilion Motorsports, but P1 for the GTD cars. Andrew Dyson will then line up in behind him alongside his own teammate Ryan Jones there in P15 and P16. Lewis Greathead will start at a P17 tonight ahead of Greg Barber from CXR in P18, with Josh Houghton just in behind them in P19. Callan Hodgkinson will then start at a P20 ahead of John O'Kiley, Benjamin Brook, Mark Cochran and Greg Leake here tonight. Big thank you to our race controllers and safety car drivers Tyson McAvoy and Thomas Freeman. But we got about a minute or so, Pricey, until we're going to get going here off this rolling start. Now, one thing I will say is there is something that should be known about this track, Pricey, and I hope they've been told this. I did ask Race Control if they'd say this to them, and they didn't really give me a straight answer, is the last corner of this track off a rolling start, you're supposed to go single file. I hope we see it. But I can't guarantee that we're going to see single file, because it can actually lead to some tears when you got cars going too wide through there.
Look, if it's anything to go by any of these street courses, they're yeah, look, the first few corners, even the first few laps, Hamish, it's on for young and old, and I think we're going to be in for a very exciting first few laps, especially as we have the GTPs coming behind the guys. Obviously, sort of that'll then impact things because it's not a very big course. It's a bit over a minute for the main cars to do a lap. So we're not talking about certainly a lot of laps before the guys start to impede on some of them back markers who seem to be sort of about 20 seconds behind what one of the fast guys may do.
So we've got our lights up now, so we will get ready to get the rolling start happening here tonight at Long Beach. The safety car has pulled away, so prototypes will now follow them down. There should be a good little gap left here by the GT cars in behind. Of course, Troy Maguire will head up the field into turn 1. This will be the telltale sign here, Pricey, is if they go too wide through that last corner. I think there should be a bit of... and we talk about gentlemen's agreements. The gentleman's agreement around here is you just go single file and then you line up side by side again after the final corner. But it looks like they're going to be going double file here, although possibly a fair bit of room left. Oh, you hate to see some possibilities of tears happening, but we're going to come down the start line. It was a little bit hairy. It's green flag racing, and we are off.
Here we go. Oh, very clean act. Certainly start by the guys. This will be certainly an interesting watch. Hold on.
So the GTP's coming around turn number 1. Let's quickly check out where the GTDs are. They're not quite at the start line yet, so we'll go back up to the prototypes for a couple more seconds until we know that those GT cars are at the start-finish line ready for their start. But Maguire's had a clean going over here. Big slide out of 5. Did well there to catch it. Here's the GT cars. As they come down towards the start-finish line, they left themselves heaps of room. That's smart from these boys.
Very smart exit. Oh, here comes, was it Simpson coming out onto the track here? Oh, he's pulled up.
He's gave him heaps of room, which is what you want to see.
Speaking about before that gentleman's code, Hamish, that's sort of what it's all about.
That's right, man. I mean, he knows he can get past these guys fairly easily, but he's now going to be, really under the pump because he's going to try and get past these guys as quickly as possible, being that they lap around about, we'll say 5 seconds or maybe even 6 seconds on average slower than these boys in the prototypes. And they've already started lap number 2, so we are already well and rolling here tonight. Patrick Frame has not started the race, so he will not be out there here tonight.
He won't receive any points if he doesn't start the race and complete a certain amount of laps. So getting up to the leaderboard, how are we looking there, Hamish? It looks like we've got...
So Josh King's had an incident as well. He's had a crash out at turn 1.
His front right wheel doesn't seem to be spinning, so he's definitely clipped something there on the right-hand side.
So this was up into 1. This is how it happened. He's in a fairly good position. Oh, and he's just ran it way too deep. And that's one of the challenges here, Pricey, is you got to get those braking markers to absolute perfection.
And then when them tyres, obviously there's not a lot of turning lock on these cars, as you can see. When them tyres aren't turning, it's just like one of them shopping trolleys at Audi. They just keep going straight and straight. And honestly, you can be wrestling this thing like it's a buck and bronco and still not get the thing to turn.
Can you tell we're trying to get that Audi sponsorship going for SRW? I think they're selling it well.
Look, you're a big fan of Audi, Hamish, and as you know, many people do this gig for the love of it. So yeah, look, if you can get anything out of it from Audi, then happy days.
So Mark Cochran has had an incident here. Looks like it was at turn 1 as well. He's come into the braking zone, and he's again just running it too quick through there. Nearly collected Benjamin Brook with him.
And he looped it. Either his rear tyres are a bit cooked or something's going on with his car, because he doesn't look like he's moving.
Well, he's pulled it up. I can't see the safety car out on track just yet.
Yeah, they're just calling a safety car. Actually, it's been called, so we will see our first safety car of the night. So I'll just keep a tally of this one. We've got one safety car. We're 33% of the way there, Hamish, and how many laps have been completed, mate?
3 laps. So we'll wait for the safety car to come out. These guys are just coming down the main straight now. I would assume it is exiting the pits in just a moment here. Oh, Grandpa Gowns has had a moment around the final corner as well. I reckon he's running a bit too wide. You can see the damage on the front of that car.
Oh. Is that the pit entry?
It is. It is super tight. I know. Oh, and he'd already had an incident and already hurt the front of the car.
That probably explains. Grandpa Gowns is a very safe and consistent driver, so...
Yeah, you can see that wheel was already slightly damaged, so... unfortunately, he's having to come into the lane. My view is, Pricey, is they should actually use the Formula Drift pit entry, which is actually just before the final corner.
Okay.
So kind of, it's just a little bit easier to get into.
You want to make it easier for the drivers, Hamish. It means they're going to have less work to do, mate, if there's less action.
With a track like this, I think it's arguably beneficial to make it a little bit easier for them, I would say.
And for our new viewers out there, Hamish, the guys now, when we've got a safety car, obviously clearing the track and getting things back underway, do the cars and the classes separate again, or do they sort of stay in how they were as the cars arrive to the safety car? What would happen?
We've had no lapped cars as of yet. Again, I think it's a little bit circumstantial. Normally, I think what happens is, if there's cars ahead of their class leader, then they'll get a wave around. And normally if they're ahead of the prototype leader, they'll also get a wave around. As long as they're not going to be getting put onto a lap ahead of their competitors, obviously. So it's like, say if Maguire here was a lap down on Grotch in behind, he would get a wave around, but he'd have to go around to the back of the GT field, for example. He wouldn't actually be able to come up past the GTs and onto the back of the prototypes. So it's
okay.
It's it can be circumstantial, because it could be like, a safety car with 10 minutes to go. They may not necessarily want to give as many wave arounds as what they normally would. But what this will be is we'll wait for the GT cars to get up onto the back of the GTPs as Mez comes into the pits now, and then we'll go green. So I'd say once the majority of those GTs are on the back of them, we'll get ready to go racing once again.
And so they obviously give them a wave around. Is that to ensure people stay on the lead lap and the race is exciting and competitive, or is that a thing they'll do in the real life racing? Or
yeah. So not only will it be to get them a lap back, but it'll also mean you don't kind of get them in the way of the prototypes, right? So if there was some GT cars in amongst the prototypes here, they would give them a wave around as long as they are not. So it comes down to if you are ahead of your class leader. So if there was, currently right now, so say if Cochrane and Kylie on track were ahead of Maguire, if Brooke was between Maguire and Grotch, but Faulkner was in behind Glasspool, then only Cochrane, Kylie and Brooke would get the wave around. Otherwise, Faulkner would get a lap ahead of everyone else.
Makes sense.
So sometimes what they'll do is they'll actually get them to pull out, and they'll actually get the prototypes to come past the GTs, and the GTs will then just slot in back behind them. Sometimes that's just a bit easier than giving the whole field a wave around. But again, it's a bit circumstantial. So, I mean, if I was in race control and there was GT cars amongst the prototypes, I'd give the cars that are a lap down on their leader a wave around. But I'd get the ones on their lead lap for their class to pull aside, let the prototypes through, and then just slot in behind them.
Makes sense. Okay, so we're just getting car 80 and car 28. So Callum and Benjamin Brook will get a wave around. Here they come down the right side.
This is what I dislike about allowing zeros in front of the numbers, because it means we can actually get double ups of numbers, and then it becomes very confusing on who we're actually calling. So Callan is 028 and Kylie is 28. So it's like they've basically got the same number. Like, come on.
So which one was it, Callum or
it was John O'Kiley in just the 28 car, but
gotcha.
As Simpson's also getting his wave around now as well, so he'll now go back on the lead lap. And then I believe Mark Cochrane may not get it because he actually caused the safety car.
that'll obviously be his punishment, mate, for one, crashing into the wall, but two, he'll need to get his car repaired, no doubt. So.
Well, that's it. And he is back on track, of course. He's at the back of the field. So, but you can see here as well, like Mez and King, they're at the back of the GT cars. As our Cochrane's going for the ultra-wide line. And they're now going to be allowed past the GTs onto the back of their prototypes.
Okay. Beautiful looking car that Mark Cochrane's in, the Ferrari. What's your favourite car out on track there tonight, Hamish?
As in, like, looks-wise, or what I like to drive?
I've never driven any of them, and if you have, mate, you've been to Audi, you've been to Lido, I tell you, you're feeling like you're James Bond if you've had a crack at some of these ones in real life. But no, just to look at, mate, I'm a bit of a window watcher myself, especially with what would be quite expensive vehicles.
I am a fan of the Vermilion cars. I do like them quite a fair bit. I think they're just a nice looking car. I can't say that I like the DPR car because they are sponsored by the same people that my team's sponsored by, and I think I just prefer the way that my team's livery looks. But no, the DPR, in all seriousness, the DPR car is actually quite nice. But I'd say for the GTs, it is definitely the Vermilion car. There's just something about that like Race Labs pattern that they have on the back of the car. It just looks really, really nice. And then I'd say for the GTPs, I am a big fan of the 9.5 Sim Sports car driven by Mez, but I also don't mind the Frog Leap cars, which are driven by the likes of Brendan Groch and Scott Hasler as well. And I like that their liveries look good across all of them.
Sorry, Hamish. Safety cars just gone in, so
the onus will now be on Troy Maguire on when he goes. We are single file. So I'd say it's going to be single file restarts here. No double file restarts. So I don't think we're going to really... The one thing we're going to have to be careful of here, Pricey, is checkups into the last corner. I think the drivers are going to have to be prepared for some checkups here, because it is almost going to be a dead standstill for the turn into this corner.
Yeah, I guess they obviously the leaders do have a lot more power and pace than the drivers that are towards the back of the grid with the car and the pace. So look at Troy, he's off. He's just gapped them. He put like a one and a bit second gap on the restart.
He had a great restart there. He really caught Brandon Groch napping off the back of that one. Glasspool's in fact taking advantage, and he's up now into P number 2. Andrew Dyson's had a crash and it's out at turn 1. And he is now going to go right down to the back of the field here off the back of this one. There's contact in behind. That was Hasler.
Where are we going? Hasler, he's gone, yep.
We'll get a replay of it after this lap. But that now drops him down the order. So, Price, this comes back to what I was saying. Anything can happen around here.
And we're 10 minutes in, Hamish, and we've already seen plenty of action tonight. So, let's hope that the guys can get a bit of clean racing in. There's nothing worse than a stop-start you can't really get into a rhythm. You start losing your brake markers, or you start losing the feel of going fast, and you start to sort of fall back into this really unorthodox style of driving. Although we see Troy Maguire here. Oh, there's been another off. Oh, don't reverse. Oh.
There is quite a few of them involved in that one. We'll get the replay up. So this is a Newens, Grandpa Gowans, and I believe Simon Mazzomo as well. And it was just, he clipped the wall and it's just caught them all out.
Oh, Shane.
Oh, yeah, as you mentioned, needs to be careful that rejoin. And this was Brad Anderson's incident down at turn 1 at the start of the lap. So I reckon this is going to come down to him missing the brake marker again, and it was.
Yep. Oh. Just simple errors. I could make a comment. There was certainly some action on Wednesday night around concentration levels. So that's what it's about. It's been a long week for a lot of these drivers sitting in the seat, whether they've raced in multiple series or put in a hard day's sort of work, getting down and getting into the simulator on a Friday night. I could imagine wouldn't be easy. But again, they've signed up for the 45 minutes to go out there and race and compete hard. So Yeah, I reckon we might see a few doze off as the race goes on. And like I said, just not getting into that rhythm that when you are concentrated and it's a nice flowing race, you do start to see the drivers start to improve with lap times. They're just everything about the whole race, how it goes, the battles that you see as the race goes on, I think is far better than what we see at the start of the race, because a lot of drivers haven't had a chance to just really warm themselves up to the racing or competitive environment that a race will bring.
So there has been an incident out at turn 1 with poor old young Ty Delaney. And it's looking like another character building race for him here tonight. He's got Grotch ahead of him here. So they've come down into 1. Oh, and Grotch has just lost it. Delaney's got nowhere to go.
Looks like them boys need a sponsorship from Michael Jackson's plastic surgeon. They've lost their noses that quick.
Yeah, it might be a bit of rhinoplasty coming for that fishy motorsport car. The old Piranha is sweating bullets right now, but he will have to bring that car in and get it fixed up. But, I mean, what the one thing that we have to mention is, Pricey, is the leader of the championship, you know, he's now going to have to come in and fix that car. So now the strategy play is, you know, he'll put some fuel in, but can he make it from the end? You know, can he make it to the end from this point? So he may not necessarily be out of the pool just yet, but that's really going to hinder him here tonight.
Yeah, look, it's certainly been some interesting sort of starts to this race when you look at across who's the leaderboard. We've got Dyson, and if you click onto the, looks like Dyson's making some moves with Ben Faulkner. It looks like they must be neck and neck there. They're sort of going up and down the leaderboard. Or
that's coming down to the fact that the prototypes are now in the pits.
Okay, gotcha. So there's a 2-second gap between them two, who, as we commented at the start of the broadcast tonight, there's a caution on the last sector at the hairpin as we lead into this one. But yeah, Ben Faulkner and Dyson. Dyson has a lot to lose tonight if he can't stay consistent and get some points. And obviously Ben Faulkner, if he can just notch another little win up, it'll further consolidate or solidify him at that top of the leaderboard.
So on board now with Andrew Dyson. This will give us a better view of how, you know, how these concrete walls kind of just fill up your windows either side of the car. You are literally surrounded by walls around here, and well, Pricey, we've already seen so far a lot of the drivers are not feeling the California love here tonight. They are just hitting wall after wall and really struggling to keep those cars at pace and on track, and possibly pushing a little bit too hard here early on to make up for anything that they may have lost.
Yeah, it's definitely a course for certainly not the prototypes, that's for sure. They do like that being pushed around the corner. You can see that with some of the guys. They miss their braking points. They come in a little bit too hot, and the car just doesn't want to turn and head straight. At least these guys here in the GT3 style cars, at least they can still get the car turned in if they have come in a bit hot. They're carrying a bit too much speed. The car can sort of pivot around, certainly what would be a lot easier than what them prototypes would.
Got a nice little battle here in between Ryan Jones and Greg Barber. Jones is just starting to pull away from Barb's here just a little bit. But, I mean, after a couple laps here, Pricey, of a bit of carnage happening, it seems to have just settled down just a little bit now as we etch up closer and closer to what we would expect to be the one pit stop period of the night.
Yeah, we're reaching about the halfway mark, so yeah, look, it's absolutely going to come down to who's playing what strategies. We'll start to see that play out. Who comes in early, who's going to hold out and try and nurse their way through. You never know, if there's a few extra safety cars put in the mix, that could throw another spanner in the works to sort of how that strategy sort of plays out. On to the obviously iRacing next season. I don't know if you've spoken about in the other broadcast, Hamish, but there's a few changes coming up in a few weeks' time.
That's exactly right, mate. And one of the big changes is, of course, Tempest coming into iRacing, and this is one of the leagues that will get it. It's the multi-class racing, the prototypes and the GTs both getting rain in Season 2. And there have already been talks about when we get to our own Season 2 in about 5 weeks. So time, that was McGuire just scraping the wall.
just come out a little bit too wide. Probably got on the gas a little bit early there and just let the front end drift.
So yeah, so the big talking point is the rain could be a big possibility for next season of the Warren and Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series, which will just throw another, another real spicy element into the risk, into the mix. Of course, we run generate weather, so it might just mean that we randomly get rain one week, and the drivers are going to have to deal with that. So the leaders now, they have now caught some GT3 traffic here out of Greg Leake and I believe it's John O'Kiley in behind.
Cool, Greg Leake, he's just coming through that really tight part of the track, so he's let the boys come through clean, and he's had another one take him on the inside.
So that's he's actually lapped down on Kylie there, who's just got past him.
That was Doug Gowans by the look of it. Was it Doug? Simon?
Doug's in the pits at the moment.
Doug's in. Okay.
I know. Don't worry. I know it can be a bit confusing about who we might be looking at and stuff like that.
It looks like Ryan Jones and Greg Barber are fiercely battling it out there. Ryan Jones and Ty Delaney now are sitting together. Looks like there's a bit of...
And I tell you what, I don't think it's going to be very long for Ty to be around these guys. He's got a massive advantage over them being in that prototype. And you'll just see the pace discrepancy and how fast he can get past them.
And obviously you see the power difference, right? The horsepower difference between the prototypes and these GT3s. Just straight out of the gate, they're on the hammer. Them things are just launching, where you notice they just don't have that same pickup. That's the difference in classes and racing, and I guess that's what makes iRacing and sim racing in general just that exciting. It is like the real thing. If you saw these guys in real life, they would probably race at similar power and speed differences where, the cars are just vastly different vehicles and certainly serve two different purposes.
I mean, it's coming down to the fact that like the GT cars, they're based on a road variant, where the prototypes are loosely based on a road variant. They're not really based heavily on the road car. Yes, they have certain visual elements that replicate them, but these are a self-built, or they're a ground-up pretty much race car that has been designed this way, where the GT cars are designed around the shape and the feel of the road car somewhat. So you just see, look at how much pace that car has over Ben Faulkner. Like,
It's like Ben was in reverse.
I know, like it's like he suddenly put the Parker brake on, and the GTP is just at full pelt coming past. Like there is just absolutely nothing competitive about it. That's why we run the separate classes. Obviously, there's nothing competitive about prototype versus GT Daytona racing, but they're competitive within their own classes, and that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love this kind of racing, Pricey, and I'm super excited to see the Sebring 12-hour in a couple of weeks' time, because we've only had one proper prototype and GT-style endurance race this year, and that was the Daytona 24-hour. So we're coming up now on the second round of that series, so it'll be good to see.
Yeah, it was a cracking event, that 500 a few weeks ago. And speaking of special events within iRacing, I believe that Bathurst 12 Hour is up this weekend.
It is indeed.
Watching it last week, it was a cracking race. Oh, we've had, who's that, Adam, has it?
Yeah.
From the Fishy Motorsports team.
So he's just extended the corner. So he already had a bit of an off at the corner before, and he's just struggling at the moment. And so this is what happened to him here. He's just come down. It looks like he's tried to get out of the way of the car in behind, but he's kind of just stuck himself in a cul-de-sac there at the end of the road. Brad Anderson had another incident. It looks like it was at turn 1 once again. What's he done? Has he just done the same thing as before? He has. He's just gone way too deep under brakes.
And then once you've got them front brakes locked on, they just do not want to turn the front wheels. Oh, look, as we get to the leaderboard, Hamish, we've got, is it James Glasspool heading up the prototype division?
It is. And we've got Hasler in behind and Mez in P3.
About 15-second gap between them. But obviously, Josh King seems to be sort of trying to fight for that third / last position on the podium. We drift down to Ben Faulkner and Dyson. They're still holding 1 and 2 position of the GT3s there. We've got Lewis, who's about 4 seconds behind the guys. So still not much in it between the top 3. Ryan Jones sitting there in a great 4th position. Great comeback drive for him, because I believe we didn't see him last week.
I don't think we've actually seen him at all this season.
I think he was in round 1, to be honest. I think he raced round 1.
He was too, because it was a DPR double podium, that's right.
Yeah, he finished 4th, round 1.
Oh, it wasn't a DPR double podium then, but he did finish P4. But,
13th overall and 4th in division. So, yeah, look, he's not super far behind. He's certainly holding with. Oh, who's that that's just spun around?
Joshua
Houghton. Boys. Oh,
yeah,
Josh.
Houghton, so just looped it off that final corner. Well, we are getting into pit stop period time right now, Pricey. Josh King has now come into the lane. Currently the only GTPs to have a, I would say, competitive pit stop at this point is Troy Maguire and then Jamie Davis in behind him. Grotch and Delaney have been in. They came in lap 9, but I'm not sure if that's really going to get them to the end of the race. We'll have to wait and see. Mez came in lap 4, so I'd say he will definitely need another stop out of P3, but Hazler and Glasspool still yet to come in at this point. So we can see Glasspool still leads the way. Currently as we stand, it's Glasspool, Hasler, Mazzomo, Maguire, Davis. That's the 5. King, Grotch, Delaney, Newens, Anderson. That's the top 10 for the GTPs. And it's Simpson and Gowans making up the numbers at the moment. Then for the GTD class, it's Faulkner, Dyson, Greathead, Barber, Jones. That's the top 5 for them. And Hodgkinson, Houghton, Kiley, Brook and Leake. That makes up the 10. And Cochrane, unfortunately, out of this race at the moment. He didn't make it past lap number 5. So he's unfortunately out of tonight's proceedings. But hopefully he can make a good return next week when his teammate Stephanie Piccoli steps back into the broadcast booth with me once again for round number 5.
Hopefully I'm doing Stephanie justice. I listened last week. She did a stellar job. So well done, Stephanie. It's nice to see you've got a night off. Hopefully next week I get a night off myself. No, look, it's been certainly an interesting first. Are we nearly halfway through? I think
we're just past the halfway point of this race, pretty much. We're coming up onto it.
Okay, so as we just past the halfway mark, we've heard just heard come over the radio Brad Anderson. I believe there was an
So this is the one that it sounds like you're speaking of here, Pricey.
Yeah, Doug Gowans, is it?
Yeah, it looks like Gowans in behind. Oh, and he slowed up to come into the lane.
Oh, looks like Doug probably didn't realise he was pulling into the pits.
I'd say again, it comes down to that sort of the gentleman agreement of this circuit is if you've never raced around here and you're coming into the pits, you've kind of either got to get over the blower or have a button set on your wheel to let people know you're coming into the lane, because you can't really just pull up on track and then go to turn in right in front of someone, right? And because they're going to have nowhere to go. So I would say on that one, that's on Brad there, because he hasn't actually let him know he's coming in, and then he's just kind of stopped right in front of him to turn into the lane. So it's like, well, what's Doug supposed to do at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that one here. It looks like Ben Faulkner, and is he had an accident, or did... Who's
going? So it was Anderson who had one.
No, okay.
Sometimes, although I will say, sometimes SDK does play tricks on you. It tells you that people have had a crash, but it's literally just them pulling the car up, just to stop, and it's just being rude. Yeah, so etching closer and closer to 15 minutes to go in this session. Only one safety car so far. Your prediction's not looking too crash hot at the moment.
No, what was that bet again?
It was 2 to 3.
No, I mean, what did the loser have to give the winner?
I don't know. Me and Cow have never really done that. It's been more or less about the glory at the end of the day.
Ah, gotcha. So there was no stakes on the line. Oh, happy days. Usually, if it was between me and my mates, it'd have to be a nudie run or something pretty silly. But
well, I don't know. We don't broadcast late enough for that to happen, unfortunately, Bryson. So
we should have an SRW X, whatever that would be. What was that Big Brother show that used to be the X or the R-rated, where you'd have the family PG version, and then I think after 9:30 they used to show.
Oh, it's like, really get up to. It's like the late night version or whatever it is.
Yeah. So, would you ever? Here's a question for you, Hamish. If you got the opportunity, would you ever go into the Big Brother house?
Wow, that is such an off-cuff question.
To win $1 million.
As a contestant, probably not. I'm not a massive fan of reality TV. To get a tour or just to see it, I would definitely do that. I think it'd be very interesting to see how that place sort of operates for their show and stuff like that. And I think that would actually be quite interesting. But no, I'm not particularly interested in becoming a contestant on Big Brother. Although it has worked out for some internet personalities, but no, not really my thing. I think if they ever had like Big Brother, but for like sim racing or motor racing, where you have to stay in like a pit lane or something, then yeah, fair enough, I'll do that. But nah, nothing like that.
As we get back to the action, look at this battle between 1 and 2, James and Hasler. They are neck and neck right now. There's literally about a 0.3 separate, probably less than that with that hairpin turn, but there is nothing separating them. And as we speak, Hasler just loses the front end there.
Yeah, I'd say these boys are probably going to be on now for a race right to the end, pretty much here. They both need to have a pit stop, but they're right up close together. Hasler's been one of the strong competitors all season. Glasspool's come in and been an absolute ball of fire already, and he's already looking competitive from this point on. He may not necessarily be in contention for the championship at this point, but he could be in contention to really spice things up and really, shake up the order just slightly here, Pricey. So I'm all for it. I think it's going to be good for us to see this this kind of competitiveness, even from a driver who's not necessarily battling it out for a championship.
Yeah, look, it's a very interesting battle here. We see that certainly I thought Hasler had the pace on him. He was less than 0.3 of a second there coming through the back end of the course, but Glasspool has certainly he's put another second, or he's out to a second now in margin. This part here is Hasler seems to really get him with as we come up to some lap cars. But yeah, look, it's going to be interesting to see how the last what do we got, 10 minutes left of this race, how these two drivers attack it. They don't want to make any mistakes. Glasspool, you're right, his first drive in this series, so he wants to make a name for himself. He could, whether he challenges for the N championship or not, he certainly, if he can take some points off the guys who are in 1, 2, 3, the Troy Maguires, the Haslers of the world, if he can steal some points off them, it allows some of them drivers that are behind to just edge a little bit further to the 1 and 2, so it brings the championship a bit closer together.
Yeah, that's exactly, and that's kind of the point I was kind of making, was like, he could, be that X factor of dragging somebody like a Mez or a Maguire into that championship battle with Hasler and Grotch, and can really just, as I mentioned, just spice it up for us a little bit, and could, come to the final round at Spa this season, and we could have a four-way battle for the championship if Glasspool's going to have anything to do with it.
Hasler's got it. Oh, he's coming. Oh, what a camera angle that one is.
Jones!
Oh, no, they've touched. Oh!
The teammates have come together.
We'll have to look at this one again, Hamish. I think there's more to it. Oh.
So he's coming up on his teammate. Looks like his teammate's going to let him go. They're going to go too wide.
I thought Scott touches him here.
Oh, you know what it was? There was a little bit of net code there, and I think Jones just didn't go quite deep enough on the corner turning, because you could run either the shallow or the deep line. He should have gone for the deeper line, let Glasspool straighten up, and then just slot him behind him. But that's unfortunate for him. Oh, and Hilly cuts off the front end of John O'Kiley as he drags it into the lane there. There could be some questions asked to him about that one.
Well, that one has just been called into race control, so it will be looked at and reviewed. Yeah, look, an unfortunate set of circumstances. Glasspool, he, by no fault of his own, he got himself put into the wall and just getting probably a little bit edgy to get his car into the pit so he can get some repairs to at least score some sort of points and pride for tonight. He's just clipped clearly as he comes through.
Yeah, and I mean, Kylie just trying to avoid him, nowhere to go. You know, he went for the line, kind of on the right hand side of track, and then all of a sudden, his front end's just getting cut off by Glasspool. So yeah, it's unfortunate.
That happened to me last night in the third race. It was one of the guys was re-entering the track, and it was on a 90-degree turn, and I was looking down through the corner and bang, T-boned him. And yeah, when that happens, it can put you out of the race. Once you have to go sit in the pits, serve your penalty time in terms of towing, obviously get your car repaired and then be back out on the track. It can be difficult to recover from incidents like that, which sometimes can be very unfortunate.
So I guess asking you, Price, you're someone who has never really driven these cars before. How would you know, and possibly maybe you would become interested in the future as Leakey's had a spin. What would you say to the idea of SRW eventually having like a kind of a feeder series for this one where they run like a pilot challenge type of deal where it's the GT4s and the LMP3 car, just to kind of help people get not only used to driving a prototype or a DT type of car, but also actually learning and getting experience in a bit of multi-class racing.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting point you make, Hamish. As a newbie to the virtual racing / iRacing world, and you caught me out earlier on, I still had me driving on the iRacing screen. It's just fascinating to see how detailed and the level you need to go to one, drive fast, two, drive consistent, but actually really do what iRacing is there for and serve the purpose of getting into a car, being comfortable, being quick, understanding the nuances and some of the little pain points that some cars have that others don't. Oh, we've just heard a safety car come out, so they'll be under the yellow very shortly. Yeah, so some of the nuances of the different vehicles. You can't just jump straight into these big, powerful cars and drive quick. It just doesn't happen. The car doesn't allow you to do it. And certainly what you've come from when you get into these cars, it's just a different way of driving and style. So for the interests of not only the drivers, but the fans out there watching, the viewers, the teams, the sponsors, everyone that supports these guys out on track, for the interests of making the races more entertaining, closer, certainly a lot more competitive battles, having a pilot program or a training system, let's say, that can help people improve and upskill so they can be quick, they can be consistent, they can get out there and sort of, do multiple clean laps without being on the edge of the tyres, without potentially pushing themselves to that it's make or break, I think would make for certainly better racing and better league series. Now, there's certainly lots of leagues out there and lots of series. I believe no better do it than SRW. So why not propose it to the guys? We should have a chat to Dean, Steve, try and put something together that can help, like I said, that transition off them early model cars that you get into when you first start iRacing to build into these, what is, I see, the pinnacle of, when I have my mates come around and want to jump in the simulator because they don't have one. The first thing they want to do is get in a V8 and they get in it, they can barely get past pit lane at Bathurst. It's hard to bridge people's ambitions and capabilities to the realities of how hard these cars are to drive, and I've got no doubt it's the same in real life too. So yeah, look, it's a pilot series, a training program, whatever it may look like. I think it'd be advantageous to drivers like myself and everyone viewing at home.
Well, I think, you know, even like offering a series like the Pilot Challenge, you could even do a slightly different nuance of, instead of having the regular Pilot Challenge, which is GT4s and LMP3s, you could have GT4s and LMP2s, and then, you know, we kind of spoke about it pre-race of limiting the drivers who can join the GTP class only be A and B class. Or what about if you said, well, the whole field here tonight, barring one driver, is in A or B class? Maybe you say, well, the IMSA series on the Friday night, that's for A and B class drivers. The Pilot Challenge is for the C and D class drivers, and then if they want to be able to work their way up into that other series, they got to prove it here first, and then they can get an entry into that series as well.
Yeah, look, definitely. You made some valid points earlier. Having a cut-off from a time or a pace certainly would allow the guys that are entering in the class racing would be very close or potentially be at similar levels in ability. So yeah, look, having, like you said, having a sort of a program where you'd need to be able to prove your ability, I think would certainly help. You know, we want to see good, clean, fun racing. We want to see full entrance, and we want to see the grids jam-packed with drivers from top to bottom. Certainly getting drivers to see the spirit of what driving is, and driving fast consistently without causing incidents or doing some of the mistakes that, you know, these cars or this program allows you to do, which is if you have a crash, you just hit escape and you restart again, certainly in practice. It would allow, when you get into a race format, which is, when I race, it's fun doing hot laps by yourself, but when you get into the chats, when you get into these race groups, when you are in this race environment, it's really what you do it for. It's that competitive spirit. You've just got this hunger. You want to beat someone. You don't want to take them out. You don't want to cause damage. So yeah, certainly what can improve people's ability or bring people into a division or class where they are of similar ability, certainly would make for sort of great action all round.
So the safety car has now pulled away, and he just cuts in. He just took the Formula D pit entry that I spoke about. He just kind of cut in just there. But now the onus is going to be on Scotty Hasler. What this has done is this has possibly now brought Simon Mazzomo back into the fight for this race.
And he's, I see James. Is James still hanging in fifth there? Is that?
Yeah, he's P5 at the moment, so he's not necessarily out of contention just yet. But the leader has gone, and we are going racing once again for the final 5 minutes.
Is it 5 minutes? Because I was going to say, it looks like, under my watch here, it looks like we're at just past 45 minutes.
No, we're at 41:35, so
okay.
About 3.5 minutes. But depending on when they cross the line for that final lap, we may or may not get one extra lap past 45 minutes. It's all going to be dependent on how it all lines up towards the checkered. But
okay, so we've probably got about 2 to 3 laps to go. It could be on for young and old in these last few laps. We might see some, well, as we go, we just saw Troy Maguire take that corner a bit wide. Simon come up the inside, has he?
So these guys still battling it out hard. What this has now done is it's brought Davis back into the battle here with Maguire. And as you mentioned, Pricey, perfect definition. It is on for young and old right now. Benjamin Brook has had an incident back in the GTD field, and so is Greg Barber. It looks like it was Barb's.
It's a dangerous position to
sit. There goes Callan. It was. So it was Barber who's been spun round.
Oh, we've got Simon.
Newens, Simpson, and Grandpa Gowans, it looks like, as well.
Mate, back up to that front leaderboard. Would have got Hasler, we've got Simon, we've got Troy, we've got Jamie. They're all still, they literally throw a blanket over him, mate, and I think you could sort of call the finish.
So we'll quickly check out what happened here with Newens just quickly, and Simpson and Grandpa Gowans. And it looks like it was the same place that happened before with Gowans and Newens. And, it looked like he did the same thing that he did before. Oh, then he's just, and it's been an absolute pile up.
So Grandpa Gowans lost his rears on that first left, and so when he was coming into that hairpin, it must have been that the car wasn't doing what he was asking it to do, basically.
That was Newens though.
Was that
went
Newens?
into the wall. Yeah,
Okay,
Gowans is off
sorry,
the back
Newens.
of it. Glasspool's had a big hit out at turn 9, and they are dropping like flies right now.
Do you reckon we'll get to 3 safety cars? We've had 2.
Not with only a minute and a half to go. I'm sorry to say, mate.
Please.
The final. Oh my God! But I can't even have a look at how much crashing that is going on. It's an absolute pile up here at turn 9.
It is like playing a pinball game down the back there. It is wild. I tell you, there's things flying around everywhere. Just close your eyes, hit the left, hit the right, and hope that you make it through. And based on that, it looks like Scotty's got himself a bit of hopefully I'm not going to give him the commentator's curse, but an unassailable lead here.
So that was Glasspool's initial crash, and then has he done it again at turn 9? He has. And that's just what's caused the absolute demolition of half the field at that corner. Just nowhere to go.
And the speeds they're travelling, they can't see around that brick wall either, so they're literally flying blind.
So Hasler leads the way. It looks like we're going to have possibly one more lap to go when he crosses the line. We're 10 seconds away from 45. Is Barney out on the flag tower? It's white flag. 1 to go.
Barney, is that his name, is it?
Apparently. I was told his name was Barney when I came here, so now we just call him Barney. But Mez P2, he's done well here to get up to that position. But it's the Hasler show at this stage.
Yeah, I think Hasler will just guide this one in. I don't think he needs to do anything stupid here coming into the last sort of final turns of the last lap. So looks like he's definitely got the podium position sewn up here. We've got Simon, who's certainly safe on the podium, but Troy Maguire ain't too far behind him with about a 0.9 differential there. So certainly been an interesting and eventful last few laps, I would say.
I mean, it was always going to be a straight sprint off the back of that safety car. But I mean, what a race it has been. Everything that could have happened has happened. Hasler around the final corner for one last time. Mez wasn't quite close enough. But Hasler will cross the line to finish P1 here tonight.
And he looks pretty impressed with that result. So we've got Hasler, we've got Simon.
We've got
Maguire. And did Delaney get a top 5 finish?
He did. He ended up finishing P5.
Wow, great recovery after a few unfortunate incidents. So Jamie Davis in 4th, we've got Ty Delaney in 5th, we've got Josh King, who just finished the line with Brendan Grolch in 7th.
And then Newens was P8, but here's Faulkner, the leader of the GTDs. He will finish in P1 once again. His teammate 2 weeks in a row will take out P2. And Ryan Jones, after unfortunate contact with his teammate, he'll come home in P3.
What a great drive by Ben. He had a bit of pressure on him by Dice, certainly in the majority of that race. So he's really sort of made a statement, I will say, tonight, that he is the premier driver for the competition.
So unfortunately for Dyson, I think he might have actually been caught up in possibly the incident that happened, or he came into the pits. So he actually lost out a little bit there on Faulkner, and he'll now drop some points to him as well. But it was a good finish there from Faulkner to get P1, and then as well for Hasler to get P1 for the prototypes too. So we'll wait to see which one or which ones of the podiums will come and have a chat to us here tonight, Pricey. And then we'll be able to ask them all the important questions.
Do they normally all come in for a chat? As we see Scotty ripping some donuts. Oh!
He ripped it right in front of Hodgson, who just finished the race. Like he just crossed the line, and then Hasler's just ripped a burnout in front of him.
Oh, mate, there's action. No matter if the race is still going or not, there's definitely there's been it all tonight.
So we'll bring up our provisional results here tonight for Long Beach out at round number 4. For the GTDs, it was Ben Faulkner finishing in P1 here tonight ahead of Lewis Greathead in P2 and Ryan Jones in P3. Callan Hodgkinson then comes home in P4 with Greggy Barber making up the top 5. Andrew Dyson will finish in P6 ahead of John O'Kiley in P7 with Josh Houghton coming home in P8. It'll then be Benjamin Brook in P9 here tonight with Greg Leake finishing 7 laps down in P10. Mark Cochran, unfortunately, will be a non-finisher, being 27 laps down, although he did actually get out on track, so I believe he will get points. Then over to the GTP class, it'll be Scotty Hasler finishing out of P1, and a Simon Mazzomo out of P2, with Troy Maguire making up the podium for the prototypes. Jamie Davis will then finish out of P4, with Ty Delaney out of P5. That's a great run from the young fella there. Josh King will finish in P6, ahead of Brandon Grotch out of P7, with Shane Newens 2 laps down on the leader out of P8. James Glasspool, what could have been for him if it wasn't for some unfortunate mistakes, he'll finish out of P9. With Adam Simpson 5 laps down on the leader, he'll finish in the top 10. Brad Anderson will then come home in P11 with Dougie Gowans, unfortunately, right down the order in P12. Patrick Frame never got going here tonight, so he will not be classified in this one, Pricey.
Yeah, look, it's been very consistent from the mainstream drivers who, as you look past the last 3 rounds, have certainly appeared at the top of the leaderboard. So, yeah, look, congratulations to Scott. It was a fantastic drive. He certainly showed and demonstrated tonight how to drive, how to be safe, how to drive consistent. You know, he was being pressured by some of the drivers. Certainly one that I had me money on was Glasspool there. I thought he had the pace. He was coming in hot through a few of the corners, but it just goes to show you don't always have to be fastest across every part of the track. You don't have to be fastest across only certain parts of the track. You've got to be most consistent across it all. So, no, congrats to all the drivers tonight. It's been fantastic. Thanks for everyone to have me. Yeah, appreciate it.
So we will bring in Benny Faulkner and Lewis Greathead, who are in the chat at the moment. I don't know why Joshy Houghton's in there for. He didn't finish on the podium. So we'll drag in Mr. Greathead and Mr. Faulkner. So, well, boys, you go P1-2 back to back here. What an absolute car wreck Long Beach was, but from our point of view, it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was an interesting track, that's for sure.
I suppose it's the only way you could really describe it, isn't it? It's interesting.
Yeah, just safety car city and just carnage city. We were potentially pushing for triple podium with Josh, but unfortunately got some damage in a GTP incident.
I mean, how was it tonight? Kind of not only really dealing with the carnage that Long Beach always brings. It's one of the reasons I love this track is the amount of carnage it can bring. But how was it dealing with that carnage on track? Also, in your battles that you're having, obviously, Ben, you were in a tight battle with Dyson there up towards the last sort of safety car period, and then he kind of dropped off the back of you. But even also then dealing with having those GTPs around you as well, because we know they can be a challenge, but around here it's almost like it's times 10.
Oh, Ben?
Me? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, it was a close. I know it's a close battle. I got 60-point penalty for the championship last round. So I know I had to work to get those points back. But yeah, coming into this round, I knew that one thing I had to do was pull away from Dyson with a toe, and then once I did that, I just started fuel saving. And then, yeah, that made it a bit easier. And then I think the safety car came out a bit of a bad spot for me, just as I came out the pits. But I think Dyson might have put tyres on or something happened in pits to slow him down, which I think saved me a bit. Because there was a few LMPs going pretty slow in front of me on the safety car, like first lap. So I thought that might have stuffed me, but didn't end up too bad anyway.
Well, I guess, was it kind of just fingers crossed and hope that you can survive here tonight, or was it kind of you knew you could do well, or I guess whenever you always come here, it's almost a little bit of fingers crossed, isn't it?
Yeah, especially always at Long Beach, no matter what you're in, but especially IMSA multi-class, it's always never going to end well. The last, I think, 4 laps, I don't even know how I survived. I think I threaded the needle about 3 times in the span of 2 laps. So a lot of LMDH mayhem, but managed to get through it. And yeah, we both ended up with a 1-2. Unfortunate with what happened to Josh, but it is what it is.
So, Lewis, obviously you made your debut last week. You couldn't have had more polar opposite tracks for your first 2 rounds in this car, could you?
I know. Well, last week I was in the Mercedes, and then obviously I got the 1 switch, so then switched to the Porsche for this because we've got a few Porsche favouring tracks, I guess, coming up. So I did some laps in the Merc, and it wouldn't have been a fun time.
We spoke about it in the broadcast actually, about that one car change and how it has to kind of be kind of strategic. I suppose with Ben being in the championship competitive position, is there any inkling of when you might want to change cars, Ben, or is that kind of a bit of hush hush secret sort of stuff?
I mean, Le Mans was going to be the worst car, I think, for the Porsche. The next one's probably Nürburgring, but seeing as I managed to take the win in Le Mans, I think I might just stay with the Porsche and see how we go. I might do some practice in between the Porsche and another car for Nürburgring, see what the difference is. But other than that, I think I'll probably just stay with the Porsche.
So hey Ben, Pricey mate, how you doing?
Good mate.
Congrats on the win tonight, brother. That's 3 wins out of the last 4 races. How do you see the next few rounds shaping up for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it can always go wrong very quickly. So still no time to sit back and relax. Dyson's very quick. There's still some other boys that haven't showed up for a couple of rounds, like Griffin Gardner, who are also quick. So they can always go pear-shaped very quickly. But yeah, just fingers crossed, and hopefully we have enough pace to carry this on.
And yourself, Lewis, mate, second weekend, 2 finishes, 2 second places, which is a tremendous result. What are you going to be looking for to sort of head into the back end or the next few rounds of the series?
Just see where I can get to on the championship leaderboard, I guess. Obviously, I'm not in contention to win it, so will be some teamwork happening to make sure that Ben gets the win if it comes down to it.
I saw Ben leave. I'll drag him back in. What happened there, Ben?
I don't know. I think I got kicked out.
Oh, I didn't kick you out.
I think Lewis kicked you out because he said he wants to beat you for the next.
Yeah, conveniently left then, so I could say what I really think.
All right, boys, we better let you go. Let us know who's giving you boys the support out there, as well as to Vermilion Motorsports as well.
Thank you. Well, Vermilion Motorsports, Berlin Motor Group, Dr. Epoxy, Race Lab Overlays, Burb Designs, Supernova Motorsports, Moser Racing, and Hymo Setups.
Very good, boys. Well, congratulations once again on a second 1-2 finish in a row. Congratulations to you, Lewis, on another P2, and to Ben for your 3rd victory of the season. Best of luck next time out.
Hopefully I did your number proud again.
Oh, you did, mate. Don't worry about that. Once you're off the podium, you're losing that number.
Well done, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you for stream, boys.
Yep. Bye.
Oh, fuck. Sorry, Pricey. Accidentally dragged you out there. But yeah, it was good to hear from those boys. Obviously, they would have had a bit of a tough time here tonight in the slower class of car, but good that they were able to kind of contest and at least stay competitive as well.
Yeah, look, they're the boys obviously 1 and 2, same running for the same team as well, which, hats off to that team. They've clearly got their strategy right tonight. They've put a lot of time and effort into sort of the drivers getting out there and putting on a good performance, which they did. So after seeing the last 2 rounds, running 1 and 2, it's let's hope some of them, the other drivers, can sort of, the Ryan Joneses of the world and the Dysons, can start to put a bit of pressure on and just upset what I would like to see is in the next few rounds, so we can see some more competitive racing.
Mate, I could not agree with you more on that sentiment. I'm all for that competitive racing, and hopefully those Vermilion boys don't necessarily run away with it anytime soon. But we'll drag in P3 for the prototypes now, Troy Maguire. Now, Troy, you put the car pole position here tonight. Great to have you here, by the way. So you put the car in pole, then you kind of lost out there a little bit early, but you managed to claw your way back up to P3. How was the old California Love concrete jungle for you tonight?
Oh, man, the track's good. I love the track. Long Beach is beautiful. Me tonight and my performance, not so much. It was horrendous, to be honest with you. So I'm quite surprised that I put on pole. With the BMW, I said to the boys before that the BMW is actually, I'm struggling to drive it fast and keep it at front. So that lap was just a pearl of a lap, so I probably wouldn't have done it again. And when the race started, again, like all cars, got to tippy toe a little bit. And then I went downhill. It went downhill slowly for me there, unfortunately.
Well, I don't think you sunk as much as what some of the other piranhas out there did. Obviously, Adam's night went a little bit, worse than yours, we'll say. And obviously, Ty had a bit of a character-building start to the night, but he did manage to get up into the top 5 anyway. What do you think was kind of the biggest challenge around here for the prototypes? Was it dealing with the traffic? Was it dealing with the walls? Or was it just Long Beach in general, do you reckon?
I'd say the GT3 cars were relatively good tonight. You have to be patient. There's no point trying to push them here. But the most thing with me was getting the handle of the BMW. That hypercar struggled a lot. So, but all the guys there, they gave me room. They pulled over. I passed them, sensibly and stuff. So, as not all tracks are going to be roses and stuff like that. So. And tonight was just one of them tracks where you have to pick your passings and use a bit of patience.
Now, mate, obviously we got Watkins Glen coming up next week. We got a good, nice little US triple header starting obviously here tonight, then to Watkins, then to Daytona. How are you kind of feeling coming into the next couple of rounds here, being that we're going to, a track obviously that is yet to have its official for the year, but then also one that has had its official already?
Yeah, I love Watkins Glen, and I'm not trying to bait myself, but everything I drive, I'm pretty quick in. So Watkins Glen is appealing to me now next week. So thank God tonight's over and done with. So then we'll make 1 week at a time. But yeah, it's just like I said, that BMW. I've got to sort it out, tune a bit of things on the set, I think, and make it a little bit nicer to drive.
Do you think there might be a possibility of a car change coming for you this season, being that you do get the one?
I told the boys I've started in the BMW and I'm going to stay in the BMW to the end of the season. I'm going to fight it out. So I know the championship's tight. I think it's only 5, maybe 10 points between me and Simon. But I'm adamant I'm going to stay in the BMW and finish the season out. And I'll tell you what, next season, I won't ever look at that BMW.
Hey, Troy, it's Pricey Orion here, mate. Congrats on the podium position tonight. Yeah, look, great racing. It was there was a lot of action going on. I noticed on the best lap times, mate, it looks like you've won the best lap time for the night. So you certainly have the pace. What do you think the strategy will be to sort of try and chip back some of the lead or the championship?
Drive the car fast, make no mistakes, pick my battles obviously to pass all the slower cars. I think that's pretty much it, and put it on pole. If I do all them 4 things, I don't see why I wouldn't have any chance of winning. So, because I remember last year I come here, I had an average qualifier. I think it was, I started 11th or 12th. I ended up finishing 3rd, and I was so far off pace, I didn't do any practice at all. So, it just goes to show you Watkins is one for me, and I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully you see me up the front again.
Well, you definitely look like you have had the pace in the last few rounds. So, yeah, let's hope Watkins Glen is your little oyster, and we'll see you at the top of the podium.
Yeah, beautiful. Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Troy. Well, let us know who's given you and Fishy Motorsports the support out there, mate, and anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well.
Obviously, the Fishy boys, they keep me sane and keep me at the team and help me where I can. So I appreciate that. For the sponsors, I'm trying to find the sponsor thing in my thing when I was talking to you guys. They've changed the Discord thing now. I can't even find where it is. So I do apologise to the sponsor if I don't name any. So West End Motor Group is the People's Champion. That's number one. Yeah, so I'll stop there. My own personal sponsor, Racecraft. John Lee, he's an awesome bloke and definitely good, worth dealing with him. Got Whitaker Battery Warehouse, MJS Gaming, Harlan Motorsport, Infinity, obviously, for the paint and the cars. They look beautiful, even though it needs an update. I think it's too much green on it. I think that might be it. I
DC
might have missed
shades.
a
I've
few.
just seen them on the side of the car.
Yeah, DC chains. I think it's getting changed to Give Me a Stubby, as Goldman would say. Give me a stubby with a new sponsor replacing DC Change. So, yeah.
Oh, very good, mate. Best of luck next time out at Watkins Glen, and thanks for coming over chat to us tonight.
No worries, boys. Hopefully I'm here next week and talk to you guys again, except on the top step.
No worries,
Cheers, Troy. Enjoy
Cheers,
the weekend.
guys. Thank you, guys. See ya. Bye-bye.
All right, Pricey. We'll bring in Mr. Mez. Obviously, someone who may or may not have a bit of an affiliation with from another league. Well, he's got adrenaline in his soul, and he finished the story last week, and now he gets to start his run as undisputed champion. But Mez, what a run it was for you here tonight, mate. Just a race of ups and downs for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. As I was saying to the guys in the chat just before, I've never been so angry at a race result. Like, just unbelievably angry just to have that safety car call right at the end. Because, yeah, like chatting to Scott, he was borderline on fuel and most likely needed to pit. I had just got myself to the point where I could get to the end. I did not need to stop at all, and I could run at full pace all the way to the end. And then, yeah, 2 laps later, safety car gets called, and it's just like, yep, I ain't doing back. Oh, I ain't getting the back-to-back win tonight. That's not happening.
So, mate, obviously we had a good little chat last week. Obviously there were some wrestling questions involved. We'll try and keep it as racy as possible, I guess we'll say here tonight. I am pulling a U tomorrow night though. I'm having an earlier broadcast so I can watch obviously the pay-per-view that's happening in Perth. But how are you feeling coming into tonight's race number 1 and then number 2? Who are your predictions to win those chamber matches? Just on a personal note.
Coming into this one, I hadn't done as much laps as what I did for Le Mans. Mainly because there was this game. I'm going to get sent to the Shadow Realm, but there was a game released during the week called Le Mans Ultimate that I was spending a bit of time on. So I probably didn't do as many laps as I should have. But even then, like I did at least an hour and a bit. Wednesday or Thursday, I think Wednesday. And I was surprised at how comfortable I sort of felt out there. The Porsche handled this track beautifully. And I know like Scott was saying that the Acura's got that issue off the final corner. It just bogs itself down. Probably saying the BMW was a bit sluggish, and like I did not sort of have that problem at all with the Porsche. It rode the curves very, very well. It was really, really good out the hairpin. That's really where I felt the strongest tonight, was out of that hairpin. It's just the unfortunate that just because of the type of corner it is, you can't really take advantage of it. But compared to other people, it definitely felt stronger out the hairpin. And it was just, once you got into a rhythm, it was really, really nice to drive. So yeah, like I said, probably not as prepared as I probably should have been, but at the same time, I felt reasonably comfortable coming into it. As for your other question, I really don't know who's in which chamber match. Well, I know Becky Lynch is winning the women's chamber match because she's beating Ripley at WrestleMania. Oh, whoops, spoiler.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert on that one.
Spoiler alert. I'm assuming Drew McIntyre's in the men's chamber?
He is in the men's chamber, yes.
I'd be saying he'd be winning that one, and he'd be going to verse Seth at WrestleMania. So
Yeah.
that'd be my two calls.
Yeah, they were my 2 as well.
Yeah.
Because although they haven't spoken if Drew's re-signed or not, but I assume he has, just quietly. And then,
Oh, he's resigned. Yeah, absolutely. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
They
for
did
sure.
that. Who'd they do that with? They did the same thing. They sort of hung it out there. It's like, oh, is he gonna go? Is he gonna go? And it's like, no, he's always gonna stay. It was never a question.
I was gonna say, was it Punk? Maybe.
No,
Like years
not
and years
Punk.
ago?
No, No, it was fairly recently, I reckon.
Okay.
And I don't know why I can't remember. It was Orton.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. He teased it for like months that he wasn't going to re-sign, and then he signed ages ago. So yeah.
That's right. Oh well, thank you for asking answering not only my my race question but also my wrestling question. But back to, obviously to the race. How was it dealing with that traffic tonight? And not only that, but having to deal with the absolute fireworks that that Long Beach can provide.
Traffic was pretty good. I think we discovered fairly early on that, especially like that first section, sort of turn 1 to turn 5, you really couldn't pass there. And it kind of worked out for me as well because I was trying to sort of save fuel as well in that stint. So by the time I hit the traffic, it was like, okay, well, I can save a little bit of fuel, just roll off the throttle and just sit behind. Same with like 9 and 10, 11, the final hairpin, same thing. It's like you can see the traffic coming. It's like, okay, roll out of it. You'll get them down the street anyway. But yeah, it was pretty good, and everyone was really, really good as well. They sort of, once you sort of made your signal that this is where I was going to go, everyone was really, really good, and they sort of gave a berth and gave space. So yeah, no, I think it was really, really good. That's the one thing I'm really, really impressed with this league is like I've done these in the past where it's just, GT3s will just not want to get out of the way, or they'll, try and get out of the way, and sometimes that makes things worse. But no, everyone actually is really, really good in this one. 9 times out of 10, they stick on their line, and yeah, they don't really make it an issue to pass anyway. So that's been really, really good in that regard. The only little stuff up I had tonight was with Andrew Dyson. I did it in practice. I managed to pass someone before getting to the hairpin, but I think I left it too late. So then, yeah, Dyson and I had a little bit of a crossover into the final hairpin. So apologize for that. That was 100% my fault. I should have just waited until we came out. But yeah, other than that, that was like the only issue I had with the traffic tonight. And yeah, just the rest of the race was just, well, you would have seen it in the last 5 minutes. It was, definitely fireworks between me and Troy.
Well, Pricey, have you got any questions you want to ask Mez before we let him go?
Hey, g'day, Mez. It's Pricey, mate. Look, congrats on the second position tonight. It was fantastic to watch. Great to broadcast. How do you see the next month or so sort of shaping up for yourself? You're looking forward to the tracks ahead? You think
Might actually have to pull up the calendar real quick because I've sort of been going day by day. I know next week I'm not going to be here. I'll be in Melbourne that weekend, and it's Watkins Glen. So yeah, I'm not too disappointed to miss that one. And then we got Daytona, Nordschleife is going to be mental. Sebring, Spa. Yeah, those 4 tracks are tracks I really, really like. Oh, Sebring, I could take it, leave it, but most of all those other tracks I really, really like. So yeah, I'll miss next week, but I'm looking forward to getting those ones. Nordschleife is going to be a lot of fun. I've never done laps around Nordschleife in these things. I've done them in obviously a fair few other cars. Daytona, I've obviously done laps around this thing. So I'd actually be decently confident going to Daytona, but having done the Daytona 24 there. So I know my pace is half decent. So we'll see what happens when we get there. But yeah, no, looks like a strong way to finish off the championship. So yeah.
Well, good luck in the month ahead. Obviously finishing second tonight, you'll have accumulated, and I haven't seen the latest standings, but you would assume you'd be sort of, correct me if I'm wrong, Hamish, would Simon be at the top end of town?
Oh, I would say almost definitely Pricey. I think Mez has been I like to call them little silent assassins, where I think Mez has kind of just been sneaking some good amount of points here. Obviously got the win last week and then a P2 tonight. I think you'd be right up there.
First 2 rounds were very, very ordinary. It's sort of the last 2 that I've actually picked my act up and had a real go. So, yeah. Look, wherever I end up, I end up. Like I was saying to Scott, I just really enjoy racing these things at the moment. They're so much fun. So yeah, I'm just turning up and having a crack. Wherever I finish in the championship, I finished. I don't really have any aspirations, to be quite honest. So if I get a good result in the series, so be it.
Very good, mate. Well, let us know who's giving you and 95 Sim Sports the support out there, and anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well.
Well, obviously, big shout out. I'll quickly grab them. Where's the sponsors? There they are. Big shout out to the sponsors: Racecraft, Turn-In Apparel, RSW Graphics, Racing Gears, and Prestige Cinematography. Obviously, shout out to the guys again. Always supportive, and yeah, it's a bit of a shame that Ash couldn't make it tonight. But no doubt we'll make it back to next round, and yeah, get the car back in the points.
Very good, mate. Well, thanks for coming and have a chat to us tonight. Best of luck out at Daytona when you come back. And whose house?
Swerve's house.
Very good, mate. Thanks for coming and have a chat to us. Best
I
of
didn't
luck.
know I was going to do that.
I knew you would. I knew you would. That's why I lined it up. But thanks for coming and have a chat, mate. Best of luck out at Daytona.
No, thanks, guys.
Thanks, mate. We love our little wrestling references, me and Mez. just so in case you don't know, both me and him actually we broadcast separate splits of vets. So we never really get a chance to actually chat about it on air together. But I do like to poke fun at him, and also at his co-host Scott Rankin as well, who pretty good friends with too. So, but we'll drag in Mr. Scotty Hasler, who took out the P1 here tonight. Pricey Scott. Another round, another win for you. Unfortunately, your teammate, Brandon Grotch, had a bit of an unfortunate end to his race. But at the end of the day, even after that little safety car period, you come home and you take the chocolates out at Long Beach.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. It's that safety car at the end really saved me. So I was probably going to have to stop if it didn't come out. I was about a litre or two short and just couldn't quite save enough. So yeah, that kind of snagged the win for me at the end. So got a little bit lucky, but you need a little bit of luck every now and then.
Well, that's right, man. Especially around here. Obviously, we've kind of titled it the California Concrete Jungle, and it's kind of one that you never really know what's going to happen around here. You can make some assumptions, but you don't know if they're 100% going to be correct. How did you find the race was tonight for yourself? I mean, having to not only deal with the traffic, with the concrete barriers, but also trying to get up to pace as well. How was kind of bringing that all together and making it work out for you to get the win? How was it trying to kind of, make all those little calculations and kind of add it all up?
Yeah, I definitely played it a bit safer this week than I normally would. I came into it knowing the Acura wasn't particularly strong, particularly those first few laps when the tyres are cold. So yeah, just tried to take it easy. I knew people would make mistakes and end up having crashes and all that kind of stuff. So just tried to stay patient and yeah, see what happened. And in the end, that seemed to pay off.
So obviously we're at the halfway point of the season now. Next week being the actual halfway point round. Obviously we've got this little US triple header happening, Long Beach, then to Watkins next week, and then to Daytona. How are you kind of feeling rounding out these next two races before we head back to Europe for Nürburgring?
Yeah, pretty good. I keen to get. I've been away a couple of weeks, so keen to finish off the rest of the season now. Shouldn't be missing any more. And yeah, Watkins is always great fun. Yeah, had some good results there in the past, and then Daytona I know pretty well from the 24 recently. So yeah, they're both looking forward to both of them.
Scott, it's Pricey here, mate. Congrats on taking first position tonight. Yeah, interesting race. Question, I'm only new to the sim racing world, but how do you feel when you and James Glasspool were going neck and neck there? It was some fierce little sort of tight racing for a few laps there towards the end. How do you feel when you see one of your main competitors crash out like that? Are you elated or are you disappointed for them? Or...
Yeah, look, as much as we all get along, afterwards in the green room, you're not really feeling too disappointed for him at the time. But yeah, it's kind of just relief. Like you just know, okay, I don't have to push as hard now. I can kind of just settle down and try and not do the same thing he just did. Because yeah, I only kind of just skated through on that one. It was a bit dicey there, but yeah, got through and then yeah, had that safety car and managed to bring it home.
From what I could see in the viewing, it looked like you had pace in certain parts of the track versus his. Did you identify that as you were going around and knew you were a bit quicker and you could catch him in places, or what? How did you sort of think that was going to play out?
Yeah, for sure. The Acura is really bad out of the hairpin, which kind of makes it a bit hard to make a pass because it just bogs down so much. So he would kind of pull away there. But then I think my car was a little bit better over the bumps, particularly on the turn in. So sort of gain a little bit through the corners, and then I think we were pretty evenly matched. It would have been interesting to see what happened if that incident hadn't gone on, because I think we probably both would have gone to the end with a no stop, and might have had a little dash at the end after the safety car. But I guess we'll never know.
Well, congrats, mate. It was fantastic battles and great to watch. So, thanks for the entertainment.
Yeah, thanks, fellas.
Well, Scotty, thanks for coming over to chat to us tonight, mate. Let us know who's giving you and Frog Leap Juice Racing the support out there. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well?
Yeah, big thank you to Juiced Energy, simrigs.com, Racecraft, Stood Speed Gloves, and the Pet Dog Company.
Very good, mate. Well, appreciate your time. Best of luck next time out at Watkins Glen and for the rest of the season as well.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, Scott. Enjoy the weekend.
Well, Pricey, that brings us to the end of of your first broadcast, but for round number 4 here of the Warren & Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series. And I'll tell you what, we called carnage and fireworks at the start of the night, and I think Long Beach delivered as it usually does.
Yeah, what a fantastic night of racing, Hamish. It's been one thoroughly enjoyable sitting in a sim without actually driving it. But no, look, it was a iconic meet and street race to be a part of, and certainly have my first opportunity to get behind the headphones here and do what I love, do what I love seeing you guys do, which is bringing the action from what the driver feels behind the wheel, hopefully to the people that are in front of the TV or the telephone or computer, to however they're watching tonight. So, yeah, mate, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's been fantastic, and hopefully see you for another couple in the near future.
I mean, if we never need a run in again, I think you'll be the first person we're going to call, mate, because you did an absolutely exceptional job tonight. But massive appreciations to you, obviously, and massive appreciation goes out to everyone who joins us here tonight. Welcome them into their home or into their work or wherever they were, and watched along with us here tonight. It's been a massive night of racing, as I mentioned, for the IMSA Shadow Series here out at Long Beach. A couple of little thank yous to make first. Big thank you goes out to our series sponsors, of course, Warren & Brown Tools, Shannon's Insurance, Motorsport Australia, Shunt Scenery, Grim Industries, DSL Rail Services, and NeuroPower. Massive thank you to them for supporting us, and a big shout out to you guys, the viewers, as well. And kind of the one question we always ask is, if you could please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, so any engagement we get will help us along the way, and hit the bell icon too, because you will then get notified anytime we go live with our racing across all 6 nights a week that we do. This includes the Tuesday night Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Series, the Wednesday night Shannon's Insurance Formula 3 Nationals, the Thursday night Shannon's Insurance Toyota Giro 86 Nationals, which is also a Motorsport Australia official series, the Friday night Warren & Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series, the Sunday night Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Pro-Am, and then finalising it all out at the Monday night Motorsport Australia Formula V Nationals, which is also an official Motorsport Australia series. But it's been a massive night of racing, as I said, here out at Long Beach. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. I've been Hamish Munro. Alongside me has been Pricey, Ryan Price. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you Sunday night for the Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Pro-Am out at Silverstone. But until then, bye for now.
This is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to snip on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanak and Jamie Dyke just absolutely drove away from us.